and had won 2 of the first 3 sets. The native of Hyattsville, Maryland, will play fellow American Taylor Fritz in Friday's semifinals. Tiafoe is trying to become the first African-American male to win the U.S. Open since Arthur Ashe in 1968. He's also trying to become the first American male to win the U.S. Open since Andy Roddick in 2006. Mookie Betts hit a 3-run homer in the 10th inning to spark the Dodgers to a 6-2 win over the Angels Tuesday night in Anaheim. A sellout crowd of over 44,000 filled Anaheim Stadium to see the return of Dodger star Shohei Ohtani. The Japanese icon played his first 6 seasons with the Angels. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
I need your dollar, that's what I need.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates small businesses, the enduring lifeblood of our community, with the launch of the KBLA SMB Marketplace. For the first time, small to medium-sized businesses will have an opportunity to promote their goods and services on KBLA and take advantage of our powerful reach and local marketing power. The SMB Marketplace is hosted exclusively on KBLA1580.com and is accessible from all our social media channels. Whether you're a small mom and pop restaurant, a car dealership, or a professional practitioner, we invite you to join in this new KBLA Talk 1580 initiative to promote your business. As a black-owned small business, you don't want to miss this unique opportunity to gain new customers on KBLA Talk 1580. For more information, contact us today at smb@kbla1580.com. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Time to get
What you gonna play now?
Bobby, I don't know. But whatsoever I play, it's got to be funky.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, make it funky. Make it funky. Ha! Make it funky. I got to make it funky. Make it funky. Make it funky. Tell me, ain't it? Make it funky. No, it is. Make it funky. Got to do it now. Make it funky. Got to do it now. Make it funky. Got to do it now. Make it funky. Oh yes. Make it funky. 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 Oh yes, I got to. Oh yes, I need to. I want to say it now. Oh yes, I got to do it now. Oh yes, I got to do it now.
That's the Godfather, James Brown. And with all due respect, it's already funky. It's funky here in California. As you just heard, our conversation about the governor, with the help of the California Legislative Black Caucus, stalling these reparations bills. If that ain't funky, I don't know what is. And it's funky down in Texas. I'll tell you about that in just a second. In this hour 2 conversation, on the B side of this hour, in our continuing series on climate justice, philanthropist Melanie Allen talks about financially supporting black-led organizations in the climate care space and why centering equity is the most effective way to achieve climate goals. That's on the backside of this hour. But speaking of making it funky, we're still 2 months away from Election Day. But the state of Texas has preemptively started raiding the homes of campaign workers in an area of the state that will be hotly contested come November. Ain't that funky? They're already raiding the homes of campaign workers 2 months before Election Day. The League of Latin American Citizens CEO, Juan Proaño, is our guest right now to talk about his organization's fight alongside black leaders in Texas. Juan Proaño, good to have you on, sir. How are you today?
Very well, Tavis. Thank you for having us.
It is my great honor to have you on. Let me make the most of the time we have. Just tell me first what happened. I want to make sure the frame is right, and then I'll start interrogating the frame. But tell me what happened in Texas.
Wonderful. So last week on Tuesday, there were 12 warrants that were effectively served on Latino leaders, candidates actually running for public office, and LULAC members. One of those members is Lydia Martinez. She's an 87-year-old grandmother, great-grandmother, LULAC member of 35 years, and a member of the GI Forum. The police officers knocked on her door at 6 a.m. with firearms and pistols. They entered her home. They interrogated her for 3 hours and went through every drawer. They went through her car, searched her underwear drawer even, put her outside for 30 minutes in her nightgown, humiliating her, and then confiscated her cell phone, her computer, her personal calendar, and voter registration cards that she had on hand.
Mm. What, in theory, was the purpose of the raid?
Supposedly, they're looking for voter fraud, and specifically saying voter harvesting is the cause of action here. But we really don't see any systemic fraud or manipulation of the vote there. And certainly Lydia Martinez has not done anything illegal at all.
Voter harvesting, for those who've never heard that term, means what? Voter harvesting.
Yeah, so essentially a way to prop up the vote by sending in mail-in ballots, mail-in voter registration cards, and trying to essentially collect them from specific targeted individuals in the community.
I mentioned a moment ago, Juan, that this is an area of the state that is going to be hotly contested, many believe, come November. Tell me about the geographic area we're talking about. Texas is a big state, so tell me about this geographic area, Juan.
Well, a lot has actually changed in Texas, and so when I take a look at those numbers, Tavis, today you have 12.1 million Hispanics in the state of Texas, okay? That's actually more than the 12 million non-Hispanic whites that live in the state, okay? And when you factor in the Hispanic, African-American, and Asian population, Texas is 60% minority. It is and has been a majority minority state.
This specific area where these raids have been happening, tell me more about that part, Juan.
Yeah, so it's in San Antonio, Bexar, and Acosta, which are essentially three different districts there, all predominantly Latino communities. They index over 40% Latino population. It is where most of the Latinos are in the San Antonio area.
Tell me once again, what law enforcement agency or agencies were involved in these raids?
Yeah, we're trying to get more information specifically about all the warrants that were served. We've been able to talk to 7 individuals that had their homes raided. I understand it's basically up to 12. I believe that these are law enforcement officials specifically from the Attorney General's office. In one case, there were over 40 officers that actually battered down a door of one of the victims. His daughter was on the couch downstairs. She was 8 years old. He was upstairs with his wife and his older daughter, who was about 10. When
we come forward, I'm going to ask Juan Perano, who is the leader of the League of United Latin American Citizens. We call it LULAC. His official title is CEO. When we come forward, I want to ask Juan to tell me more about the AG. As he said a moment ago, these raids appear to have been, these 7 to 12 raids appear to have been instigated by the Texas Attorney General. His name is Ken Paxton. That name might ring a bell. He got in some trouble himself a while ago. But I'll ask Juan to tell us about the AG and why he would sign off on raids like these 2 months before Election Day. Hint, hint. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward. Tavis Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Hey, checking in?
This is not just your flu shot appointment at Walgreens.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is getting your entire family vaccinated in one trip.
Hey, Mom?
And a snack on the way out. Get flu shots for everyone in your family, together. Schedule appointments online today. This is wellness made easy. Walgreens.
Vaccine subject to availability and for ages 3+. State and health-related restrictions may apply.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery on select smart beds when you add any base. Ends Labor Day. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley Juan Brano, who is the CEO of the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC. Pleased to have you on this program. In case you've just tuned in, they're raiding the homes of campaign workers in Texas, specifically Latino campaign workers, 2 months before Election Day. Why do you think they're doing that? You ain't stuck on stupid, and neither am I. This issue of voter suppression and voter fraud and voter harvesting is going to get worse. I've said many times, and I think you understand my point here, that if Kamala Harris does not win this election by a landslide, I don't know if that's possible. I think it's going to be a tight race. But if she doesn't win by a sizable margin, not just in the popular vote, she's gonna smash Donald Trump in the popular vote. We know that. She'll crush him there. The question is, how does she do on the Electoral College? And if that thing is anywhere near close, you're gonna see so much more of this after November 5th. There'll be all kind of allegations of voter fraud, voter harvesting, voter suppression. If they're starting 2 months ahead of time in Texas, then you know what's gonna happen on November the 6th. If this race is anywhere near close. I digress on that for now. But Juan, I wanted to ask you, and I will now, about the Attorney General in the state of Texas. His name is Ken Paxton. Tell me about Mr. Paxton and why he would, no naivete here, but why he would authorize these raids of campaign workers.
Well, Ken Paxton served in the House of Representatives from 2003 to 2013. He actually became the Attorney General in 2014, and he's really best known, first and foremost, to be an election denier. Mm-hmm. So in 2020, he basically stood by Donald Trump saying that the election was essentially stolen. But we know him certainly as a very right-wing conservative Attorney General who is against abortion. He's been against the Affordable Care Act. He, threatened essentially to file lawsuits during COVID. Asking the Texas districts to rescind local orders to wear face masks. He has supported gerrymandering in the state as well, and he's obviously been a very staunch opposer to immigration and immigration reform, going back to Trump's years in office. So, it's a challenge that we have in the state of Texas because they not only control the Senate and Congress in Texas, but they also control the courts in Texas as well, all the way up to the circuit court. So mounting any legal defense claims is going to be very, very challenging for us.
Tell me what impact these raids have had. I can only imagine when the state starts raiding the homes of campaign workers. These are everyday people. and they get awakened in the middle of the night, and they have their home searched, and as you said, they're made to stand outside on the porch for 30 minutes in their nightgowns. This has to have, I would believe, some sort of chilling effect. But tell me more about the impact that these raids have had in terms of spreading fear, if nothing else.
I mean, absolutely. In the case of Lydia Martinez, for example, she's afraid. She's afraid to go back out there and continue to do the voter registration work. Her family has asked her to stop. They're afraid that she's going to go to jail. While she has received a warrant and they did a search and seizure in her home, she hasn't been, arrested, right? There's no conviction at all in her case, unlike Ken Paxton, who actually has been convicted for securities fraud and is currently serving. I believe he has community service hours that he has to serve, at least 100 community service hours that he has to serve. And so, I will tell you that fear from a grassroots perspective, tops perspective, the folks that are doing the organizing work is now resolving itself to do more work. Our folks are now more committed. Our members are more engaged. They're more tuned to what's going on, not just in Texas, but really around the country. LULAC has 535 councils in 33 states, 207 cities. We have over 260,000 members that are watching this very, very closely, paying very close attention, and they are going to come out and they're going to vote.
Yeah. I wanted to ask that question. Let me just ask now, because the flip side of having a chilling effect is that people get mobilized and energized and organized around these things because they don't like being put upon in that way. I just spent a good part of our first hour today talking about the reparations issue here in California, how many African Americans are upset with Governor Gavin Newsom and the California Legislative Black Caucus. We're all Democrats, but we're upset nonetheless. And as I said many times, sometimes you have to fight with your friends. So they're messing with black folk in California. They're messing with brown people in Texas. But the point is that when you get put upon in a particular way, when you get disenfranchised politically, economically, socially, culturally, one or two things happens. Either you go away gently into that good night, you go away quietly, or you get your back up. Dr. King, speaking of backs, Dr. King once put it this way: a man can only ride your back if it's bent. So in moments like these, you straighten your back up, and the fight becomes even more intense. What's your sense of what this is going to do? Will it ultimately, across the country, with regard to Latino voters, a key constituency in this presidential election year, will it cause people to go gently away and stay out of this process, or do you really believe it's going to mobilize and energize people?
Well, we're going to stand there. We're going to fight. There's absolutely no question about that. And this is, Tavis, not something that only affects the Latino community, and this is something that not only happens in Texas. It affects the African American community. It is prevalent in Georgia. It is prevalent in Virginia. And so the first decision that we made was that our response was not going to be solely a Latino response. We've worked very closely with Mark Morial at the Urban League. We've worked very closely with Maya Wiley at the Leadership Conference, with Reverend Sharpton at the National Action Network, with Alfonso David at the Global Black Economic Forum, and Melanie Campbell. And so we know that we need to stand arm in arm with our African American brothers and sisters. This is an issue that is nationwide, predominantly in states that have Republican governors and Republican attorney generals. And Texas is a testing ground.
Yeah.
They're testing to see if they can get away with this, right? And if they do, then you're going to see it in Georgia. Then you're going to see it in southern states as well. You're going to see it in states with Republican attorney generals that will essentially begin to use the same tactic around the country. And so we feel and have asked the Department of Justice to conduct an investigation on this front. We think that there's merit from a criminal perspective. We think that there's merit from a civil rights perspective. And we are going to continue to advocate that as a community with other civil rights organizations at a state level and national level.
What do you expect DOJ to do, Department of Justice? You filed it asking them to investigate. At this point, have they responded? I know it's early in the process, but what do you expect of DOJ?
Well, they have responded, and we can't comment on the meetings with them. They have a process, but generally, they're extra conservative when it comes to responding in a certain period of an election, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they do remain independent, but we're not going to solely rely on the DOJ. We're in the process of getting our own legal counsel. We will announce something soon on that, but we'd be very proactive in the engagement and protection of our members, certainly, and the Latino community and the African American and Asian community as well.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned you got a plan B and a plan C and a plan D, because if you're waiting on DOJ, you might be waiting for a minute, brother. They dragged their feet on that January 6th insurrection hearing, insurrection issue.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been for Benny Thompson out of Mississippi chairing that committee, giving them all the evidence they needed, we might not be looking at Jack Smith trying to advance these cases right now. So I wouldn't rely on DOJ. Not that you need advice from me. I'm not a lawyer. I just know they dragged their feet. That I do know. So I'm glad you got a plan B, a plan C, as I said, a plan D. Let me come back to that used the word tactics a moment ago. Speaking of tactics, one of the things that we are fully aware of in Texas and beyond is that the GOP, unlike the Democratic Party, has been very methodical and very careful and very consistent, very committed over the last few years to putting all the right election officials in all the right places, so that if this, in fact, is a close race, Donald Trump will have all the minions, all the sycophants already properly positioned to help him fight the results of an election that would show that he lost once again. I assume you're seeing those kinds of officials like Ken Paxton in all the right places in Texas and beyond.
Well, I would go even further than that, right? You know, essentially after 2020, they were litigating the issue of the election being stolen. What they're doing right now, and specifically with these raids, is that they're laying the foundation ahead of the election to say that there was voter fraud that was conducted. They're laying their argument now, okay? So they'll be able to point back and say, see, we told you so. Right? And, you know, the proof that Donald Trump has lost the election is proof that these voter fraud claims and voter harvesting claims are true. Now, I think it's important to note, Tavis, you know, on last Friday, Governor Abbott announced that he purged 1 million voters from the voter rolls in Texas, right? And that was just really a way for him to deflect from the actual story of these raids. But the fact of the matter is we can see, even by the data that they published, it undercuts their own argument. You know, 457,000 of those people purged from the voter file were deceased. 463,000 have had their voter registration suspended because they don't know if it's the right address or those individuals have moved. But there were only 6,500 non-citizens actually on that voter roll. That's less than 0.5%. And only 1,900 of those non-citizens actually have a voting history. So now talking about 1/1000th of a percent of the 1.1 million records that were purged as being, you know, of non-citizens. That is not systemic voter fraud. You can clearly see that there is no vote harvesting that's going, and even third-party independent organizations have all concluded that there is no systemic statewide, nationwide efforts to get immigrants to vote, non-citizen immigrants to vote, and not just this election, in any election.
Yeah, it's a solution searching for a problem, right? A solution searching for a problem. I digress on that. I want to circle back to these numbers that you referenced earlier in Texas. California, a state similarly situated, as are other states, as you know, it's just a few years down the road where, for the first time ever, America will be a majority-minority country, not just in certain states like California, Texas, and beyond, but the nation, for the first time ever, we are told, based on the data, will be a majority-minority country. That's already happened, as I said, in certain places. So to Texas specifically, that 12.1 million number of Hispanics, Latinos who live in that state, outnumbering already our white brothers and sisters in the state of Texas. Those numbers are real, and yet it has not resulted in a power shift. The good white folk in Texas still run things. Republicans, conservatives in Texas still run things. What's your sense of when these numbers, when the power and the numbers will more equate?
Well, certainly, you know, the number of eligible voters has continued to increase significantly. Since 2020 to 2024, the number of new eligible voters, over 50% of them are Hispanic alone. In the state of Texas, we're dealing with issues not just in voter suppression and intimidation, which is essentially what these raids are designed to do, but we're also dealing with gerrymandering of districts.
Sure.
Districts that should absolutely be represented by Latinos are not. And so LULAC has actually filed 6 different lawsuits really since 2006 at this point. We've sued, at the time, Governor Perry. We sued Donald Trump in 2020 when he basically wanted to put a citizenship question on the voter registration. We were able to win that case with other partners, but we've had to sue the Secretary of State in 2021. We also sued Abbott in 2021 and also in Harris County. So we've had a full plate from a legislative and a legal perspective to fight back some of these allegations and some of these threats. But look, the dam has a hole. It's going to crack. This is their efforts to basically stay in power.
Yeah. Let me close with this in the 2.5, 3 minutes I have left here. I want to read a couple of paragraphs from a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, which found that the top issues for Hispanic registered voters ahead of November 5 largely track those of the country at large, with the economy, immigration, healthcare, and climate change standing out as the group's top priorities. Economy, immigration, healthcare, climate change, top issues for Hispanic voters, not unlike those for the rest of us. While registered voters overall favored Trump's approach to the economy over Harris, 45% to 36%, Hispanic registered voters viewed them equally, each drawing 39% support. That reflects, to my mind, Juan, an improvement for Democrats, given that since Kamala Harris has become the nominee. Those are the numbers from Reuters Ipsos. How do you process those numbers?
I mean, it absolutely tracks, right? Immigration isn't necessarily a top issue for Latinos. It has obviously become prevalent primarily because of the news and the media. But look, on immigration, there's a couple things. You need to separate what's happening at the border with what's happening in the interior. There are Latinos that have lived here for 10, 20, 30 years. They have bought homes here. They have married U.S. citizens. They have children who are U.S. citizens, right? They have specific concerns. They want pathway to citizenship. They want the ability to work legally in the United States. We are for common sense immigration reform. But at the end of the day, the things that we talk about are the economy, education, for example. Reproductive rights is a really big issue for the Latino community, no question about it. And so we're not single-issue voters, and immigration is not the only thing that drives us.
His name is Juan Perano. He is the CEO of the League of United Latin American Citizens. We call that LULAC. I've been honored to have had him on this program, but this is a warning shot. This is a warning shot that Republicans are firing to let us know full well what they intend to do come November the 6th to contest whatever the results are of these elections. And as he put it quite accurately, Texas is their testing ground. All these raids on the homes of these campaign workers is just a testing ground for what is to come, sadly. Juan Perano, thank you for your work and witness. Good to have you on this program, sir. All the best to you.
Thank you, Tavis, for your reporting.
Thank you, my friend. When we come forward, more of Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Illinois, a Chicago man is expected to appear in court today after he was accused of gunning down 4 people sleeping on a train. Ronnie Davis, who is African American, is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox says the crime was a random attack. Vice President Kamala Harris is expected to announce an economic proposal to help small businesses today. Harris will be on the campaign trail in New Hampshire, where she'll outline proposed tax deductions for small business startups. Chase Bank says a viral TikTok trend is check fraud. Over the weekend, videos on TikTok showed users depositing fake checks for large amounts of money and quickly withdrawing the cash from their accounts. Some users claimed a glitch in the bank systems allowed the people to get the cash. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer custom-made faux wood and real wood blinds and shutters, cellular shades, Roman shades, bamboo shades, exterior shades, and more, all at factory direct prices. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Francis Tiafoe is edging closer to his first Grand Slam tennis championship. The 26-year-old African-American star advanced to the semifinals of the U.S. Open. Tiafoe was leading Grigor Dimitrov of Bulgaria when Dimitrov quit the match in the 4th set because of an injury. Tiafoe had a 4-1 lead in the 4th set and had won 2 of the first 3 sets. The native of Hyattsville, Maryland, will play fellow American Taylor Fritz in Friday's semifinals. Tiafoe is trying to become the first African-American male to win the U.S. Open since Arthur Ashe in 1968. He's also trying to become the first American male to win the U.S. Open since Andy Roddick in 2006. Mookie Betts hit a 3-run homer in the 10th inning to spark the Dodgers to a 6-2 win over the Angels Tuesday night in Anaheim. A sellout crowd of over 44,000 filled Anaheim Stadium to see the return of Dodger star Shohei Ohtani. The Japanese icon played his first 6 seasons with the Angels. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hey there, it's Karen.
And I'm Ernest. We're the co-hosts of Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest here on KBLA Talk 1580. Make sure you check us out Saturdays at 8 p.m.
And our rebroadcast happens on Sundays at 7 p.m. We'll be talking about the art of dining. We'll be giving food tips, talking to sommeliers, chefs, concierges, all the food influencers. Everything food, everything dining. And sometimes with some of our friends just hanging out and talking food.
And when you listen to our show, we have a segment called Hot Dishes. Sometimes unpopular opinions, but we said what we said and we meant what we meant.
Also, we do food reviews with who's hot and who's not.
Yeah, you make sure you guys check out Food for Thought with Karen and Ernest here on KBLA. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer custom-made faux wood and real wood blinds and shutters, cellular shades, Roman shades, bamboo shades, exterior shades, and more, all at factory direct prices. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
The moment we've all been waiting for has finally arrived. On Tuesday, September 10th at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will square off in their first ever presidential debate. KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress are hosting a viewing party, and we're inviting you to join us for an evening of civic engagement, great food, and good vibes. Our studio space is limited, but if you would like to join us, just go to our website at KBLA1580.com and register for your chance to watch this historic presidential debate with us. Years from now, we're all likely to remember exactly where we were when this pivotal moment in American politics unfolded. So, register for your chance to join us by going to KBLA1580.com right now. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
As promised on the backside of this hour, conversation now, part of our continuing series, I should say, on climate justice. Pleased to welcome in studio philanthropist Melanie Allen to talk about financially supporting Black-led organizations in the climate care space and why centering equity is the most effective way to achieve climate goals. Melanie, good to have you in studio. How are you today?
Well, Tavis, it's so good to be here. I am wonderful.
It's good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Let me make the most of the time we have here. Let me start with a broad question. Tell me about the Hive, that's Hive, the Hive Fund.
Sure. The Hive Fund for Climate and Gender Justice is an organization that I co-lead with my co-director, Aaron Rogers. Mm-hmm. It's a great day to tell you about it because we celebrated our 5th anniversary at the beginning of this week. We turned 5.
Congratulations.
And we raise money and make grants to people that are, and organizations that are working to do 2 intersecting things. To really accelerate the transition to renewable energy in ways that are equitable and make sure that our communities don't get left behind, and to accelerate the phase out of polluting fossil fuel energy and other polluting energies that have really harmed our communities for too long. And we do that through making grants to nonprofit organizations based in the U.S. South that are at the epicenter of this transition that we're all living through, and who in many ways will help shape what our energy future looks like.
I'm always fascinated by Black people in this space, and I have come to realize over the years that there are a lot of Black folk in this space, more than one knows or thinks, and a lot of Black folk in this space for quite a long time, in fact. And so one of the reasons why we have engaged this climate justice campaign is, one, to raise the civic IQ of the African American community around these issues, but also to profile people like you who are doing work in this space, because I believe, as do you, that climate justice, climate equity that is, climate resilience, these are the urgencies of now. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing, and you've been at this for quite some time. As I mentioned, as you mentioned a moment ago, your 5th anniversary, so congrats once again on that. I say all that to ask how it is that you got in this space. I'm always fascinated by the backstories of Black people in the climate space. Tell me yours.
Well, Tavis, I always tell people that I have a job that I did not know existed when I was going to school. And it really started for me early on. I was diagnosed with a chronic illness when I was young. When I was in high school, I needed life-saving care. And at that point, we didn't have an Affordable Care Act. And so my dad had just left his good government job to go work for himself. And they would cover all my 5 siblings, everyone else in my family, but they wouldn't cover me because I had a pre-existing condition. And I got the health care that I needed. And then I moved to New York to go to college, where I worked with Marian Wright Edelman at the Children's Defense Fund.
Oh, so let's pause. Let's just pause for a second. That's royalty right there. Marian Wright Edelman is royalty, a dear friend of mine. Love her. Whenever her name is mentioned, we just got to pause for a second to give respect and big love to Marian Wright Edelman. Okay, you can continue now.
Absolutely. And I worked in the New York office. And at that point, we were trying to expand the child health insurance program in New York State. And we were successful, able to bring more than 1 million new young people into health insurance. But I was working alongside people who had similar health stories to mine, but their health challenges were caused because of where they lived, the polluting industries that surrounded them. And so it really, caused me to question what is happening in our communities with the environment, with pollution, with environmental justice. And that is how I started this work. And then after working in this field and in rural development for many years, really I saw a job application. And someone, actually the Mary Reynolds Babcock Foundation, which is a Southern foundation that I worked at before, they were looking for someone to really start an energy equity portfolio. And so they hired me to do this work that I didn't quite know how to do yet, but trusted me to go out, to talk to listen to people in communities, to understand our issues, and then to be able to make a strategy to fund organizations that would be able to work on those issues.
So tell me more about what it is like raising money every day as you do, crisscrossing the country. You're based in the South, but you're here in LA today, and I'm glad about it. Lucky us, lucky me. But tell me about the journey, the drama, if you will, to the extent that I'm right about this, of raising money for Black causes, particularly when it relates to the environment.
Oh, that is such a loaded question. It's a good one. I think first when I got in this role, I had to unpack some of my own money stuff because one of the first things that I saw and that my co-director and I saw when we were starting this organization is that there would be Black-led organizations that were just leading phenomenal work that people would invite to speak on their conferences. So we're like, oh, these funders are funding them. Their budgets look good. And then we would look at their budgets and folks were giving them $10,000 while, other folks were getting millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. And so first had to step into this space really thinking about what our people deserve and what it looks like to be able to sit and have the honor and privilege to sit in this seat and to be able to really amplify their stories, amplify the impact that they're having, and I think name not only that we deserve more, but that the work that we're doing unlocks a whole new solution set that will bring us all along as we continue to experience hottest days, on record, hottest summers on record, and really grapple with the impacts of climate change.
So you mentioned hottest days on record. Let me just pivot just for a second here. I'm on book tour right now. Speaking of Marian Wright Edelman, Marian Wright Edelman wrote the foreword to the Covenant with Black America book 20 years ago that came out, shot to #1. The 20th anniversary edition of that book is out now. So I'm in the studio right now, but when I'm not here, I'm actually on book tour for the next few weeks with the Covenant Black America 20 Years Later book. The piece that Marian Wright Edelman wrote, the foreword 20 years ago, was so powerful, I left that forward in 20 years later. When you read the new book, you will see Marian's forward there, and what she had to say 20 years ago resonates, is as powerful now as it was then. Issues of the environment are covered in this text as one of the 10 covenants. Environmental justice is one of these 10 covenants. I raise that because, again, the work that you're doing is critical, and yet I'm not so sure that the audience understands the kinds of work being done by Black people that needs to be funded in this moment. So give me a sense here of the kind of work that you are funding. What's being done with the resources that you're helping to provide?
Great question. I think people often think of environmental work and they may hear greenhouse gas or parts per million and their eyes glaze over. Mm-hmm. I think our approach to philanthropy and our approach to this work is actually very different. We fund people that we call multi-solvers. Mm-hmm. There are people that may, like me, be working on health issues or other issues, and they understand the way that climate impacts those issues that they've been working on for a long time. And so some of our organizations are, mothers and other that have pulled their community together to fight a polluting plant that is causing health issues, that is caused or been attributed to causing cancer in their communities. They're seeing their children have these health challenges and have banded together to really understand why it's happening, to understand why they look around and they see industry all around them and they go to the other side of town and none of it is there. We fund folks that are working on democracy because democracy is a climate issue. Folks that are in this moment in which we have about a historic federal investment in our energy system, in renewable energy, and in really accelerating renewable energy. We fund folks that are helping to do that, helping to make sure that those solutions make sense for our communities, for our housing stock, for what people can afford to pay, making sure that Black farmers are a part of this story, who have land and should be a part of the solution set. And so I could tell you a laundry list of some of the amazing groups that we fund. But I think if you name it, there's someone in our set of grantee partners that are likely working on it.
Yesterday, back to my earlier point, I'm on book tour right now, and I was doing some interviews yesterday in Philadelphia. And I had missed this story, but when the host, one of the hosts of these programs, mentioned this to me, it just kind of got my attention. I shot up in my seat. So across the country, all these kids, of course, American students, are going back to class. You know where I'm going. I see you kind of nodding already. In Philadelphia, over the last few days, at the start of school, it was so hot. It was so hot, they canceled school. Now, I grew up in the Midwest of Indiana. I know full well about school days being canceled because of the snow. Too cold, snow removal, can't get to school. I get all that. So we're used to school closures in the wintertime. But just at the start of school in Philadelphia, They had to shut down because the schools, the classrooms, were too hot for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I digress for the moment. We'll pick that up when we come forward. But just think about that. They're trying to get started on the first few days of school. And there's nothing like coming out the blocks the right way. It's like a track runner, right? You got to come out the blocks the right way. But they have to shut schools down in Philadelphia. It was too hot for the babies in the classrooms. What does that tell you? Now, you know these babies are. These are black babies, right? What does that tell you about the state of the climate? And that's why we're having this conversation with Melanie Allen. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
As fall approaches, you have a lot to prepare for. Back to school, sporting events, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve. So this fall, no matter what you're prepping for, you can prioritize your family's health and make a game plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor or pharmacist to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Our guest is Melanie Allen of the HiveFund.org. You can read about it for yourself. Hive, H-I-V-E, HiveFund.org, talking as part of our continuing series on climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience, all year long on this program. I was saying a moment ago about being on the air in Philadelphia yesterday and learning that they had to close down the schools in Philly because it was just too hot for these babies to sit in these classrooms. And you were about to say something, I think.
Sure. Well, I think two things strike me about this. One is that, the Hive Fund, the work that we do really targets the root causes of climate change. And so that's polluting industries. And we have partners that are really, really working to address that and to make sure that we're decreasing that pollution that is really driving climate change. But we think about climate change as a great multiplier. And so if you're in the education space, if you're in health, anywhere that you are, we see that climate change is changing the way that the systems that you're involved in work. But I had the great opportunity to go visit one of our partners in Bertie County down in the Black Belt of North Carolina a couple of weeks ago, right before they started school. And there are some school systems that are doing things about this. And one of the things that they got to do is flip the switch on their first EV charger for an EV bus. And to see that as an opportunity to not only, decrease pollution, because if you think about a bus, right, a traditional school bus, the tailpipe sits right at the level of where a third grader stands. Average third grader is breathing in this exhaust, this pollution. We've seen studies that say that it makes it more difficult for them to concentrate, harder for them to learn. But we also know that African American children have asthma at a rate about 13.4%, which is almost twice, what our white counterparts have. And so just the school is one place where we're seeing communities really rally and begin to test some climate solutions and some things that move us into the renewable energy space, not only to, pick the children up from school and make sure they can get there safely, but also we learned there that they had a mechanics teacher, an auto shop teacher, who then started learning about EVs and then now bringing that into the classroom. And so it's also an opportunity for folks to bring them into this economy that's going to be developing around renewable energy.
We've talked in this half hour about the importance of supporting Black-led organizations and everyday Black people who are doing this kind of climate work. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Melanie Allen, I want to ask her about this feminist approach to philanthropy that she kind of teed up earlier. I heard that. I didn't miss it. I want to give you a chance to unpack that, and we'll finally talk about why centering equity is so important to this work. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Melanie Allen right now on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Hey LA, today I'm here to talk to you about Grid Alternatives, which is a nonprofit in LA that focuses on renewable energy. We serve communities who have been left out of the renewable energy sector. We offer paid job training, and in 13 weeks, you can become a solar installer. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry, and once you're hired in the industry, you stop at a high, medium income. That could be $20 an hour or more. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry. Call today so you don't be left out at 323-861-0105 or gridalternatives.org, gridalternatives.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA Can believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Melanie Allen in these 4 minutes I have left talking about climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience, specifically for African American peoples. Tell me quickly about this feminist approach to philanthropy that you've taken.
Absolutely. Well, in the simplest terms, this approach means that we don't think that we're the smartest people in the room that know all the solution sets that are going to get there. We spend our time listening to people on the ground, but we also kind of looking at where funds are flowing now, see that there are women of color especially who have propelled us towards climate action that have been under-resourced and overlooked by philanthropy. And so I think we've been really intentional about funding those organizations. And one of the things that we've learned through that process is that it's not enough to just give resources, but it's giving resources in ways that demonstrate trust, that are general operating support. And I think about, we made our first grants when COVID happened. And if we had funded in the ways that traditional philanthropy was funding, then, folks would have had to come back to us and say, hey, we can't really go talk to people face to face. Can we make calls instead? They would have had to do all that instead of focusing on the work and the life-saving work that they were doing at that time. And so we fund folks in a way that gives trust. We fund them across multiple years so that they can hire staff. But we also fund them to engage communities in ways that don't just look at the outcome, but ask who's at the table, who's making the decisions, who's shaping the way that this work is happening, so that our communities don't get left behind. Because too often people kind of don't think about the how, they just think about the what, and we get left on the chopping block.
Finally then, how do we center equity in this work, in this conversation about Black folk and climate?
I think it's there. We've got this environmental justice movement that for so long has told us that the way that we get our food, the way that we get our consumer goods is hurting and killing them. And so I think it is listening to what the environmental justice movement has said. But I think it is trusting that community members have been thinking about this for a long time. Your mother, your grandmother has been saying, our energy bill is so high. Close that door. So it is taking some of that common sense approach and having a conversation at that level, not at parts per million, but at the level that people understand, like the schools that you brought up earlier, and making sure that we're bringing that into the solution set so that it makes sense for our communities. And what that has led to is in places like Atlanta, for the first time, we've got $2.4 million that the city put up to do some housing retrofits because that's what communities asked for. They said we need our homes to be more weatherized, help lower our energy bills before we can even think about solar and all these other things that are going to be important going on, but we've got to build the foundation and start where we are.
And that's why we celebrate Melanie Allen. She's a leader in climate justice philanthropy with deep experience, as you've heard, in facilitating community-based solutions that put those who are most affected, these everyday people, at the center of these decision-making, policy-making frames. And development, I should mention. And so HiveFund.org is the outfit that she co-runs and co-founded, and I invite you to learn more about it for yourself, HiveFund.org. Melanie Allen, safe travels back home. Good to have you in L.A. Thank you for your time, and most important, for your work and your witness.
Thank you so much, Tavis. It's a pleasure to be with you.
I appreciate you. The pleasure was all mine. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.